This morning, dew still faithfully hangs on the tips of the rice leaves, greeting my footsteps that slowly step on the embankment. I have never walked through this rice field before. Just today. This morning, the sky is clean, almost flawless. The sun is still shy behind the thin fog. The warmth has not bitten, but enough to dispel the cold that remains on my palms. I stand for a moment, take a deep breath. The aroma of wet mud, the aroma of raw morning. Then, I walked again, without a plan, without a map, just following my instincts, among the soft creaking of the chilly tree branches that were already lying on the ground. I moved them with the tip of my sandal. I saw them, small snails, with dull black shells, silent, but there were many. They were hidden like a secret, stuck to the pile of chilly tree trunks, hiding behind the mud. My heart beats faster. There was something strange, something magical. One by one I took them, slowly. My hands were black with mud, but I didn't care. The wind blew softly, as if whispering something. I don't know what. Maybe it's just the rice fields talking. Maybe it's just the silence that sings. And I kept walking. No sound. Without pause. Hunting is not to win, but to feel. Felt that this morning, something was found. And maybe, something left behind. Among my embedded traces, and the snails that I am now holding. The rice field was quiet. But never quiet. That morning, I come home with my hands full. And a heart that somehow, feels more complete. Snails were scattered, everywhere. In small depressions where water was stagnant. So many. I was stunned. Not because I was surprised. But because of a strange feeling that suddenly hung in my chest. Between joy, awe, and something difficult to name. I didn't go any further. There was no need. Just in one spot. One small spot in this vast expanse of rice fields. I think that's enough. The snails seemed to come by themselves, offering themselves to my fingers that were trembling with cold and the enthusiasm that was straining my joints. My hands worked, bending, reaching, putting them in a plastic bag that made a rustling sound. A small sound that sounded loud in the morning silence. I smiled. My lips moved slowly, as if afraid of breaking the perfect silence. Not a lonely silence, but a deep silence. Very deep. The snails seemed to come by themselves, offering themselves to my fingers that were trembling with cold and the enthusiasm that was straining my joints. My hands worked, bending, reaching, putting them in a plastic bag that made a rustling sound. A small sound that sounded loud in the morning silence. I smiled. My lips moved slowly, as if afraid of breaking the perfect silence. Not a lonely silence, but a deep silence. Very deep. It seems like this place has never been hunted. Human steps rarely stop, maybe never. The tracks in the mud are still pristine, undisturbed, untainted. The snails, not just a lot, but also old, big, jet black in color with a wet shell. A little mossy, like it had been sitting for a long time. They are silent, but not afraid, as if they do not know human hands. They do not know hurry. They do not know running. I froze for a moment, observing a snail in the palm of my hand. Its shell is rough, heavy, telling of time that passes slowly. Maybe this snail has been here for years, living among the grass and mud, watching the rain come, waiting for the sun to leave. And now I come, to break its tranquility, carrying a plastic bag that is now bulging. There is a small vibration in my chest, either proud, or guilty, but this hand has not stopped. Still moving, still hunting. The wind is getting stronger. The sky is spreading a more mature light. The birds are flying higher. But I am still here, on untouched land, in a corner of the rice field that is like a secret, where the black snails grow old undisturbed. And now, one by one, they are moving, into the grasp of humans. Did I find this place? Or is this place calling me to come? Silence. Silence again. Just the sound of plastic rubbing. And a soft rumbling inside a heart that is beginning to wonder. Suddenly, I felt someone watching me. Not a voice, not a shadow, just a feeling. A feeling that can't be explained. Like there were spies hidden behind the weeds. Or maybe behind the whispers of the wind that had previously felt normal. Now sounded like another whisper. My hand stopped. A snail was still in my grasp. Still dripping muddy water. I turned my head slowly, sweeping my gaze across the rice fields. Empty. Quiet. But too quiet. The morning that had felt warm now seemed to be pulled by invisible clouds. The cold crept in slowly. Not from the air, but from within myself. I swallowed. I stepped back a little. And the snail, I looked at it again. Its shell now looked different. Darker. Heavier. As if it was holding something. Then, from a distance, a white stork stood still at the edge of the embankment. Looking straight at me. Not moving. Not afraid. As if marking. And somehow, I felt, I was no longer a hunter here. I was a guest. Or maybe, an intruder. This rice field changed. It was as if the snails didn't want to leave. They didn't want to be taken. They weren't just animals. They were like part of something bigger. Older. Deeper. I looked down. The plastic bag in my hand felt heavier than it should have. As if it wasn't just the little bodies I was bringing home. But also something invisible. Something attached. My steps began to move away. Leaving that spot. Slowly. Without saying a word. The sky was still clear. The birds were still flying. The wind was still blowing. But inside me, something had changed. And the snails, for some reason, felt like they had taken me to a place further than human feet could reach. My steps finally penetrated the boundaries of the rice fields, leaving muddy shoe prints, and a long silence that I could not fully understand. Morning had risen. The sun was now dazzling. Its warmth stuck to the nape of my neck, drying the remaining dew and sweat that had not been felt before. In my hand, the plastic bag swayed slowly. It was full, heavy, noisy with the sound of snails rubbing against each other. My steps finally penetrated the boundaries of the rice fields, leaving muddy shoe prints, and a long silence that I could not fully understand. Morning had risen. The sun was now dazzling. Its warmth stuck to the nape of my neck, drying the remaining dew and sweat that had not been felt before. In my hand, the plastic bag swayed slowly. It was full, heavy, noisy with the sound of snails rubbing against each other. I have imagined in my mind when I go home later. With slow steps. With a heart that is not yet completely calm. But peaceful enough to let time take the rest. When I arrived home, the sound of my ducks immediately greeted me. They knew, either from the smell of mud, or from the different vibrations of my steps. Or maybe they just felt, it was time for a big meal. I moved the snails to a large bucket. The clear water welcomed them, then slowly sank with small sounds. The sound of the rice field world that I had now brought home. The ducks crowded around. They fought over, scooping, pecking, snatching. Boisterous, alive. I sat on a wooden chair in the corner of the yard. Looking, silent. The snails are no longer silent. They have become food, a joy for my ducks. And I feel a perfect cycle today. I went, I hunted, I came back, and something was given life from it. It wasn't just the snails I found this morning, but also a sense of gratitude, a sense of sufficiency, and something that can't be explained, but can be felt when I see my ducks eating greedily, happily. It's not yet noon, but I know, this morning has given me more than I asked for. And in that bucket, the rest of the snails are still moving slowly. The silent remains of the rice fields that still stick to the walls of time.